Anybody using Claude? Nice.
I use
This one.
Claude.
Yeah.
You use Claude as well? Good. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Claude. I'm going to showcase Claude a little bit. We were just having this conversation, so I'll bring it up because it's not in the presentation. You know, ChatGPT is good for a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but the problem is ChatGPT wasn't made for enterprise, for businesses. So they're, in terms of securing your data and securing what you're doing, it's not, you know, front and center, it's not as important to them. They're starting to now, but it wasn't what it was kind of built on. The front runner on that is actually Microsoft Copilot, but the problem with Microsoft Copilot is it's not really that great. You know, it uses ChatGPT on its back end. It just signed an agreement with Anthropic, so it's going to start using Anthropic and Claude models as well. But it's not there yet. So Claude is definitely the one that I would recommend, especially if you're dealing with anything that has sensitive information. And we'll talk a little bit as to, you know, some more recommendations of that, but I just kind of wanted to get the feel as to what people are using.
Import stuff from ChatGPT to Claude if you're converting over?
You can. It's not going to be like clear cut, right? You pretty much, like, so if you have project spaces with instructions or any GPTs and stuff like that, you're going to have to get the instructions out, save them. So Notepad or a Markdown file. That's the best way to do it. Save it as a Markdown file, and then go into Claude and then just put that in there.
Okay.
And you can just ask ChatGPT to do that, right?
Yes, you can ask ChatGPT to do that. It's going to be a little biased. It might tell you like, why are you trying to do this, or like, you know, just say what you will. Oh, I'm going to use Claude as well, or something like that. But or compare both models and stuff. Man, so I've been reading a lot of articles about, you know, the way. So I'm big on the ethical use of AI. I'm big on governance on AI, especially for businesses, because it's getting to the, you know, point where every business needs to have an AI policy in place. I've heard stories where, you know, you have employees using personal versions of AI because the business is not promoting AI, and they'll take a picture of something. Sometimes it has client information, sometimes it's IP to the business, and it's on a personal account or it's on a free account. What they don't tell you is that information is safe for 7 years, and they can reuse that however they want. And it's used to either train the model or it sits on the servers of those platforms for however long, which causes, you know, issues. And if it's PII or PHI, you can get legal. If something happens, you can be liable for that. So, and then there's actually several cases right now where courts are starting to request the records of your AI use. So
Really?
Wasn't there a recent case
Yes.
with the CEO of Grafton?
yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And there was actually one in court as well where it wasn't a CEO. This was actually somebody, I forget what the crime was, but somebody was planning something against somebody else, and the court requested their entire chat history on AI. And yeah, they were guilty after that.
That means somebody has to go through all of that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, you know, you got to be really careful and mindful of these things. There's a lot of change happening right now with AI. So just some things to keep in mind. Are we still waiting for somebody? I think we are, right?
Yeah, I think for the one lady with the last one.
Okay. Gotcha.
She had to go pick up her son. She said she'd be right back.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, she did say that. Yeah. So we'll just have a general conversation until we start. So nobody's using Google, huh? That's surprising. I usually get a few people using Google. Yeah,
Yeah, no.
Gemini.
Is that one any good?
I have mixed reviews on Gemini.
I have mixed reviews on Google in general. So
Yeah.
That's why we kind of try to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah. Gemini is really powerful. It's very, very powerful. It's also very wordy. Like you'll prompt it, maybe something, a paragraph long, add a couple bullets there and stuff. And it'll give you like 4 or 5 pages worth of stuff. You know, I personally don't like that.
Right.
The other thing too is the nice thing about Google is it's probably the biggest context window. So you can use it pretty often. And the other thing that Google does that's really cool is if you have Google Workspace, Gemini kind of comes with it. So you don't really have to pay extra. So that's nice. But Google has the processing power, it has, the model is very nice and the context windows are very nice, but it's just very wordy and it's also very opinionated and it likes to please too much instead of trying to and this is something else I've been looking into. It's fascinating and scary at the same time. So there was an article where somebody was depressed and was, and I don't condone this. I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to tell people how to use AI and stuff. Right. But they were kind of using AI therapeutically. Well, they were saying how they were, depressed, down, this and that. They want to hurt themselves. So then this was actually ChatGPT, but it was tested on Gemini as well. So ChatGPT's response: "Do you need help writing the letter?"
Oh.
That's you understand. Wow. This is why ethics and governance is so important to me, because you won't get that with Claude.
Will it call the police instead?
No, it won't. It won't. It will actually. Its response will be like, "This is not a healthy behavior. You should reach out to help. Don't use AI to try to." It'll literally tell you that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Claude, because if you guys saw the news, the government's contract, so Anthropic had a contract with the government, and the government asked them to release all constraints, all ethics, all governance. They wouldn't do it, so they lost the contract. Now, 1 week later, who's in there? OpenAI and ChatGPT's in there. They released all the constraints and stuff. So that's kind of scary, but anyway, that's one of the reasons why I like Anthropic, because when they founded the company, it was important to them to make sure they were using ethics and governance with whatever they're using AI. Claude, yeah.
So we use a lot.
Yeah.
We use a lot of Claude.
Yeah, Claude is amazing. And I will say it's not cheap. If you're using it extensively, constantly, you're going to run into your limits and stuff. But the way the models work, the security that's in place and all that, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. It really is. And the big mistake that a lot of people do is they think, oh, I need to use the best model, so I need to use Opus at all times. You should use Sonnet. Sonnet is not bad. Like, you're looking at 81% to like 86% difference. It's like that 5%. And the only time that Opus is extremely, a lot better than Sonnet is in reasoning or like complex planning and stuff like that, or scientific research. That's when it hits the 97%, and Sonnet is more in the 60s and stuff. But for everyday use, just use Sonnet. That is the biggest tip I can give you when you're using Claude, so you don't reach your limits too fast, because it's 3 to 5 times more token usage when you use Opus compared to Sonnet. So, yeah. But Sonnet's great. I love Sonnet. I'm actually hoping they get the next version of Sonnet here in the next 3 weeks. So we'll see. We're still waiting for one person.
You can get started.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for coming out. As some of you already know, we do these regularly. We do them pretty much monthly. Next month we will have a virtual one, so coming into summer we'll start doing more virtual because everyone's out and about on vacation. We have a lot of things going on. So, as you probably know, we have Giuseppe here today. He's going to talk about AI and how we can use that to empower organization. He's a AI master at this point. He is the go-to when it comes to all things AI. He's definitely well researched and knows a vast amount of knowledge about it and uses it a lot. So I'm excited to see all the things we can learn from him. If you have any questions or anything, we can certainly open up some time at the end. Otherwise, thank you. I'll hand it over to him and let you get started. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Well, first, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, I guess. I'm not sure. Is it the afternoon yet? Yeah, it is the afternoon. So yeah, this is one of my favorite topics, AI. So the way I kind of talk, and I should have mentioned this, I used to teach at Thompson Institute, or what is now Kaplan Career Institute. So I tend to be kind of educational or teacher mode sometimes. So it's very conversational. So feel free to jump in if you have any questions or anything like that. So I have two companies. One is RDCS, which is an IT and cybersecurity company. And my other company is Lindari. Now, when I founded Lindari, my goal was to use AI to help businesses integrate AI, right? For line of business apps and stuff like that, to automate so that they can scale, not to replace people. I'm not about that. Not about replacing people. I'm not about using AI unethically or using AI to make millions or anything. No, it's to me, it's all about the people. It's about enhancing skill sets. It's about increasing productivity and automating on tedious tasks to free up some of that valuable time. So that's what Lindari is about. So we do a lot of AI advisory and consulting. Because I have a background in IT and cybersecurity is extremely important to me. So everything we do with AI has that cybersecurity foundation as well. We run the IT company that way, and we run the AI company that way as well. And I was just having this conversation earlier. One of the surprising things that we do a lot is fractional AI officer now. A lot of businesses are looking to implement AI, but not necessarily with a custom solution that's going to tie in their line of business apps. Kind of how we were having that conversation about Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini. They want to know, how can we use these platforms in our business? Because what ends up happening is a lot of companies, and I'll give you a prime example, it just blows my mind that this happened. A lot of companies will buy into AI and nobody trains anyone. It's like, here's AI, go use it, have fun. Automate, I want to see 30% production increase, and there's nothing, right? So everybody's talking about AI, but there's no training, there's no, how do we do this? What's best practices? Like, how do I integrate this? You're pretty much left to your own devices to learn this stuff. So a lot of companies have been coming to us and asking us, can you help us get a foundation in AI, connect the dots to how we can tie in our business and use this, right? And then what are the good practices? How do we make sure we stay secure? How do we make sure we're not sharing the wrong information? We can avoid any of the pitfalls and stuff. So we've been doing a lot of that recently as well. So yeah, I say this several times because this is what I truly believe in. This is why I founded Lindari. There's a lot of messaging out there where it says AI is going to take your job, AI is going to replace you. If you're not using AI, you're going to lose your career, this, that, whatever. No, I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to that. I think if you use AI, you can enhance your skill set and your talent. It's not going to replace it, because I am a strong, believer that your talent, your experience, your skills, all that stuff, AI is not going to be able to replace that. AI is pattern based, right? It recognizes patterns. It can do a lot of different things with patterns. Okay, so that's why people think it can replace emotions and skill sets. But what about that experience? What about all those mistakes that were made and you learned from? What about all that education? What about just whatever, like, your gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, your instincts, none of that stuff is really what AI is going to is going to do right now. So we're all about making sure that your team works better using AI. All right, so some of the things we do AI strategy and implementation. That's the higher end aspect. So if a company comes to us and they want to say, hey, like we spend, and I'm going to demo this because this is a good use case. We spend 14, 15 hours doing a project scope and estimating and all this stuff and tying in our different vendors and stuff like that. How can we use AI to that? That was a great use case because we brought that down to like 20 minutes. So we'll talk about that. That's a construction company. We help them do an estimation and automating all that. Workflow automation, there's a lot involved with that. A lot of times that involves a project management software like Monday.com or CRM or something like that. AI can definitely help with that. And then the fractional AI officer, I'm not going to say it again, but we help businesses, embed these platforms so they can get more productive, tie in their apps, and use AI to be able to automate some of the tedious work. Okay, so this is something that I say all the time. AI is incredibly smart. So the average person reads about 2,000, 2,500 books in their lifetime. AI has hundreds of millions. That's the difference, okay? But really, really smart, but they're like an intern. You got to tell them what to do all the time, right? So think of it like a digital intern. That's the best way to think about AI. It can do a lot of different things, and just for limitation of times, I usually talk about agentic AI a little bit, but I'm not going to cover that right now. Just be careful what you give AI access to. If somebody's trying to tell you, yeah, we can, you can use this platform and it can automate all your stuff and it can do your bookkeeping, and you want to take a step back and ask whether you should do that, okay, before you go ahead and just give full reins there. So a lot of companies now, this is a funny stat. So there's, talking about the fractional AI aspect, right? There was a company actually near Penn State. I forget the name of the company. It's a construction company. They pushed out about 1,000 licenses of Microsoft Copilot to their entire staff, right? And then they, in their quarterly reports, they say, okay, yeah, we enhanced productivity by like 20%. This is working. Okay, we're using AI, we're frontier, this and that. There's, their investment portfolio looks nicer, all this, all that. The CEO loves it, loves seeing these stats. When you ask the staff how many people are using AI in Microsoft Copilot, less than 5%.
Wow.
So that is, the reason I bring that is you can't just throw AI into a business and not have some type of, best practices or guidelines or constraints, because, would you do that with your business? Would you just throw something right out there and not have some type of control over what's going on, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information and data? So in order to get this, right, the time savings, the faster output, you got to invest in the training. You got to invest in the, how is this accessing my data, and should it access my data, and how can I automate things with cybersecurity in mind and keeping my client information or my reputation or my IP or my business safe. So, but yes, can you do this? Absolutely, you can. But it does require an investment in time, training, as well as talking to your team, because you can't just throw a product out there and expect everybody to be able to use it and use it productively and stuff. And so that comes back to, in order to do this, and this is the other aspect of the training, everybody's telling you just use AI like you're just talking, right? Like just you do a conversational prompt, and yes, you'll get a result, but maybe 60-70% of what you can get, okay? So this is part of one of the things we go over is, how do I prompt AI to get the best results? Because here's the thing, remember that digital intern I told you about? If you're unclear or you leave it open, it's going to assume. And if it's going to assume, it's going to hallucinate. And if it's going to hallucinate, it's going to make a lot of mistakes, okay? So you want to be as specific as possible when you're prompting AI. As you keep using it, it'll learn and it'll know what you want. Okay, or you can go into higher level, and then if you're using project spaces, for instance, put those instructions in there so you don't have to redo those prompts all the time. But the more information you give it, the more context you give it, the better it's going to be for you. So there's 3 different ways to prompt AI, right? One-shot prompting, which is I'm a big fan of. That's kind of what I do. I love doing one-shot prompting. Those are typically your bigger prompts, but they have a lot of I can't say this word, specifics in it. It's very detailed as to what you want it to do, and because I like to ramble, I guess that's why it fits me very well. Then you have the conversational prompting where you go back and forth. That works okay, but you're not going to get the best results if you're just constantly talking, refining. And how do I phrase this right? It's not that you're going to get the best results. It's going to take you more time. Okay, and the other thing is, as you're talking to AI, as it's using tokens, its context window is getting smaller. So it's going to start leaving stuff out in that conversation, because it no longer has room to compute, because you have a context window in every platform you use.
What is a token in that context? Because I don't understand that term.
That's a great question. It's a little technical. So AI has been around for a while, like since the mid 90s, I want to say, even early 90s. But they could never like get it really functioning, right? Because it took so long to pull this data. So they did something called tokenization. And what that did is they assigned numbers to patterns of words. Okay, so like one token is not one word. One token is not one character. It's like a pattern of a group of characters. So that pulls a lot faster because you have 26 characters, uppercase and lowercase, that's 52, add symbols, and the exponents get a lot larger as you combine that, but there's 10 numbers.
So we're talking for Claude, is that a Claude thing that you're
That's
saying?
all of them.
So ChatGPT is the same thing?
Every single platform uses tokenization. They just do it in a different way. Google has their own proprietary one. Anthropic uses theirs, and ChatGPT. I want to say ChatGPT is the model that a lot of them build off of, but Anthropic uses their own as well.
Thank you, sorry.
No problem. And then my recommendation is I would start with one-shot prompting, and one-shot prompting doesn't have to be like a page-long prompt. It can be like a paragraph and add some bullets in there and stuff. Just be very specific, right, as to what you want and what you're trying to do. Then go into conversational prompting. Because if you give it the most context at the beginning, it's going to give you better results. If you're constantly doing conversational prompting with it, the context window gets smaller and some of the stuff just gets cut off. That's when you get hallucinations, because it can no longer remember what you said at the beginning, because that's the limitation of where we are with AI right now. So start with one shot and do a little bit more conversational as you go. This is one of my favorite books. It's called The AI Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. And I highly recommend you read this book. He came out with a framework for prompting AI called the CRIT framework. And it's context, role, instructions, task. I'm gonna put a little caveat on this. Careful with role. It's been proven that when you give AI a role, you limit it. Okay? So if you give it a very specific role, it has a narrow focus. That's all it's going to focus on. So you tell it, hey, be a scientific researcher, and you give it a query that may tie into, I don't know, politics or whatever. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. It's not going to look at that because you told it just to do this, right? So instead of using a role, give it its skill sets or a character, and don't go like, hey, you're an expert scientific researcher, and with 10 years experience in environmental sciences, you're just limiting what it can do. It can't tie in other sources of information because your instructions say this is what you are and you shouldn't do anything else. Okay, so be careful with that, but this is still a great way to start using a framework, okay? Context is the most important. What is it that you're trying to do? Give it this information so that it knows where to go from there. Instructions. See, and I would even say with instructions, this is where you should also ask it questions. Okay? So I always ask it, what am I not thinking about? Let's say if I was doing research on, I don't know, I was doing research on England, places to visit in England, right? And I say, okay, so what locations are people going to in England that are getting really good reviews and are beneficial for memories, or something to that effect, right? Like, ask it questions, because the more questions you ask it, the better you're going to get, the responses you're going to get. Because again, it's going to tie into that huge reservoir of knowledge and capabilities. And the task is literally, what is it you're trying to accomplish towards the end? So examples. So narrow role, kind of what I was telling you, you're a B2B marketing assistant for professional service firms. So this is more of a character compared to a specific role. You're a marketing strategist with deep experience across B2B professional services, blah, 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 blah. You're giving it multiple skills so that it can kind of expand what it does and is not just narrow focused on the B2B marketing assistant. Example of CRIT. So if you write something like, write me some marketing content for LinkedIn for the week, I want to target small businesses. If you give it a framework like this, your results are going to be a lot better. Okay, so that's an example of how you would use crit. I'm going to deviate a little bit from the presentation right now. The language that all AI models use is called Markdown. Well, not the back-end language, but the output language, the front end, what it shares with you, right? It's Markdown language, which is not super complex, but it's a different way of doing things. So for instance, with Markdown, if you use a dash, it knows it's a bullet. And it knows it needs to, segment that. That's an important separation from the entire paragraph or anything like that. If you use one period, like you would in a normal, outline and stuff like that, it knows the same thing, right? It's a separate point. It's important. Take this as a separate aspect of the entire prompt. The reason I'm telling you this is you should use that, because that is the language that it understands. And if you use Markdown, and that's two really easy steps right there, a dash or numerical, bullets and stuff, it's going to enhance your prompting as well.
Should you write your prompts like in Word or some other thing and then copy and paste it in?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Write it.
Yeah, it doesn't, spelling is actually one of the least important things.
Okay.
Yeah, the most important thing is structure. So if you're using an outline format, you're using dashes, you're using one period, there's more to Markdown than that, but I don't want to get into a technical aspect on Markdown,
yeah.
right? But just those two little tools, okay, is huge. I'm gonna give you one other pointer, and it's completely up to you if you use it. I use this a lot. There's brackets. We don't normally use brackets in language, right? But if you, for instance, let's say, I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say I'm reviewing an email from a client, okay? And it was a long email, and I'm just giving an example. And I just need to summarize it, or I need to pull out what I need to assign to my staff, okay? So I'll put the email, and I'll put email from client, and then I'll put semicolon, and then I'll put open bracket, throw the email on there, close the bracket. This is why that's important. Okay, the semicolon there is telling it, this is my data, okay? This is what I'm sharing with you. This is what I'm giving to you. And then by putting it in brackets, it's separating that from the rest of the prompt. It knows this is the data, this has to be separate, this is not the initial prompt. So because if you're putting an email there and they're asking questions, this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to confuse those instructions with whatever you have in your prompt. So that's another good way to separate that. I use that quite often, and it helps me a lot. So brackets is another way to do it. Make sure you close the brackets at the end of whatever you paste in there. But yeah, it's worth it to practice a little bit with Markdown language. It will make a huge difference in your prompting.
Would quotation marks work as well?
Yes, single quotes work for naming conventions. Bless you. Double quotes can work, but it's going to take it as kind of something quoted. So it's going to use the quotation, like the way we use certain aspects of symbols and stuff. It's going to use that.
Right.
So, but yeah, quotes and single quotes work as well. Yeah. So again, going back to cybersecurity, right? So the reason I'm talking about this is, if you're using the free platforms right now, it's great that they offer this for free. Just understand that they're doing it for a reason. You're helping them train their model that they're hoping to make over $1 trillion valuation on, okay? One, your data saved. Your data saved indefinitely, all right? And that means that if you share something sensitive, it can be pulled at any time. Okay, so if you're using free platforms, you need to be aware of that. If you're a business, you should be using the business version of those platforms. And then you should also ask how it's using your data. So a real quick thing you can do, so if you guys are using ChatGPT, and let's say you're on the Pro plan or you're in the Teams plan on ChatGPT, just ask it. So with all the data that I've shared with you over my time using ChatGPT, where's my data stored, how is it being used, and what is my privacy? It'll tell you. It has to tell you. Okay, and then you might be shocked what it comes back.
So if you're if your organization is using Google Workforce and you use Gemini within that, is that still considered out there and not safe, or is that contained within your workforce considered safe?
That's a great question. So Gemini Workspace has some protection, not all protection, some protection. If you want all protection, you got to pay the higher price. Yeah, but if you're getting it with your Workspace Standard license, you're getting basic, to answer your question.
So there's an up level for that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're depending on how high up you go, and Microsoft is starting to do that too. If your Microsoft 365 subscription now, when you renew and if you have an IT provider, make sure you talk to them about this. The new plans have Copilot and Microsoft 365, and they're actually less cost than if you would do them separate. But yeah, Microsoft is nice in this sense. Like they did get this right. Like if you use Copilot, you're secure. I take that as a caveat, okay? There's no such thing as 100% security, okay? So when I say secure, it's as secure as it can be, but there is no such thing as 100% security, just so you're right. If you have data on the cloud or even on the server, eventually it's gonna get compromised because there's just, software has so many vulnerabilities, so many, just to give you some context for cybersecurity, we have to defend against any and all possibilities, any and all vulnerabilities, any and all security holes. An attacker needs one. That's really hard to defend against, okay? So that's why I say that. It's best if you have as much security as possible, but be aware of that. So, all right, so business platforms, just take that with you. So, and then the AI use policy is extremely important as well. Cybersecurity, insurance carriers, cyber insurance is going to start asking for this in the coming years, okay? Because it's becoming a huge issue. All right, this happened maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Has anybody heard of DeepSeek? Okay, so DeepSeek became very popular because it came from China and it was extremely powerful. It was comparable to OpenAI as well as Claude, as well as Gemini. And it's like, wow, this is so cool. It's so much less expensive. They got hacked. So a lot of data was released out there. Not only that, but like, I'm not gonna get into politics here, but you gotta be extremely careful with using any models that are overseas. Any business that is in China, the government has the right to pull their data anytime they want. So if you are using an AI model in China, they can pull your data whenever they want. So just you be careful. Use common sense and stuff like that. But yeah, AI use policy is extremely important. You don't have that. How do your employees know what they should or shouldn't be doing with AI? So if they're taking a screenshot of your screen and using their AI and it has customer information and that gets breached and there's an investigation as how that data got compromised and it comes back to you, your business is liable, not the employee, because you don't have an AI use policy. So their defense is like, well, there was nothing in the business saying they couldn't do this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. So you do need an AI use policy. You need to have something in place because in likelihood of, this happened at a hospital. This was pretty bad. There's an HR case right now. I'm not going to name the hospital, where employees were taking pictures of each other and then using AI to make them funny memes and stuff like that. Well, they did one of somebody that didn't want that, and it was kind of offensive, and it was a public platform, lawsuit. So just kind of giving you a use case. This is why this stuff is important. Have an AI use policy. Make sure you set those boundaries in place now, not later on, because this is becoming more and more common. All right, in review, always verify what AI is telling you too. Personalize it. Don't just take it, copy and paste. Don't do that, please. Make sure you make it your own. That's why you're the expert, right? You're using AI as a tool. Always verify with this stuff. Use business platforms if it's for your business. Make sure you do train your team or find some way to train your team. Don't just throw AI, tools at them and expect them to be safe with them or know what to do with them. A lot of people are overwhelmed with this technology because it's just so weird to them, is like what I hear a lot. And you got to remember too, with social media and everything that's out there in the news, people are seeing the worst, right? They're seeing all the bad stuff with AI. And most people are seeing AI is coming for your job. AI is going to take, so when they see an AI tool coming for business, like, oh my God, is my job in jeopardy? Do you understand? So this is kind of the framework and things that people are thinking about. So you need to train them. You need to have that conversation. You need to make sure you do this the right way. So it's don't try to do everything at once either. You know, start small, see if it's actually going to help you and stuff, and go from there. And one of the things I forgot to mention is when you're using AI, it's good to focus on one task or do step-by-step instructions instead of throwing everything out there, because just like you have a context window, you also have a limit as to how much output you get. So if you give it 20 instructions, and let's say your limit on the output is I'm just going to throw a number, 10,000 characters, okay? So those 20 instructions have to be condensed and give you as much as possible within that 10K limit. But if you give it one and you have a 10K limit, you're going to get more. Do you understand? That's the best way I can kind of, explain that a little bit to you. So that's why step-by-step thinking is important. Don't try to just do this super long prompt that has like 20 tasks in it, because you're not going to get the best results. It's better if you do this a little by little. I always encourage to have multiple project space for different uses. Don't just have one project and do everything right there. All right, I'm going to jump right into the demos, just to kind of show you some of the stuff that we're doing with some companies. By the way, this is an AI platform. This is where I do my presentations. This is called Gamma, if you guys have never heard of it. The way I do my presentations is I structure in a prompt, and I have it help me build it out. And so this entire presentation was built on Gamma. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the financial advisory dashboard, which is this one. I ran it before because it takes about 10-15 minutes to do this. So this right here was for an accounting firm. I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you who it is, but basically what they did is they do people's taxes, they do their book work. This is all businesses, right? They make sure they comply to all the laws and do all their financials, projections, a lot. But there's all these files, these Excel files and these Word documents, all these receipts. And so each client has like 20, 30 files, and trying to get this all together, it takes time. It takes somebody looking through all this stuff. So they're like, can we put this in a folder in SharePoint and have an AI platform that can look at all this stuff and do all the projections for us to eliminate 4 to 6 hours on each accountant doing this? Well, yep, it did that. And as the request grew, they asked for a little bit more. So can we do an expense breakdown? Sure. Can we do talking points? Like what do we see in the numbers that we should talk to our clients about? What are some risks and stuff they have on their finances? What about projections? What about all these different things that we built out for them as they asked for? So just to give you some ideas as some of the things you can do with AI, that's a big one, right? Because all these documents that are sitting there, they scan and stuff like that. This is local to them. This doesn't go out to the internet. Okay, this is how we keep that secure. This stays inside.
It's on their server?
Yeah. Well, it's their private instance of AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Services.
Right.
But yes, it's totally private to them. It's not available in the public. It's not like somebody can just go out to a website and log in and see all this stuff. So this is one of the things we do. And then you can export this into a PDF. You can, if you just want to send an email with the talking points, you can do that. You can do a whole bunch of, if you want to show this to a client, you can do focus mode. I'm not going to do it here, but basically I'll do a kind of a presentation. You can go over it with a client. What was the next one? Sales lead optimization. Now this one's a little bit of a weird one. All this uses AI, so it takes 3-4 minutes for each one. This was actually a law firm. Lawyers don't like to deal with a lot of the marketing aspect or the lead follow-ups or anything like that come in. There's platforms for that, but this law firm specifically, for whatever reason, didn't want one. They just wanted, when they receive leads, can I just have something where it just qualifies the lead for me, and then I can send this to my paralegal and they can follow up with them. I don't want to deal with it. I want to do the contract work. I want to do the legal aspect. I don't want to do this. So we built this out for them. So basically they either had a meeting transcript or they had an email, they put it in here. It does the lead scoring to see if that's a valuable client or not. Is it part of what their ideal client profile is, the business. It even does psychographics depending on what was in the transcripts and what the conversation looked like. And then the templates or the emails that he wanted it to generate based on how they reach out to their clients. So it's using their templates. This is not AI. This is actually using their email templates and stuff. So he can do it. So now when he has this, instead of him using a CRM or a platform, which he refuses to do, and he is up there in age, so that's probably one of the main reasons. He just takes the transcript, takes the emails, takes the lead information, puts it in there. His paralegal takes it from there. So this is another way we're helping. That's not for everyone, but that's an example. All right, so this is one of my favorite ones. This is a construction estimator, kind of what I was talking to you about. It's a little bit cut off on the left, but this is a construction company that was taking 12, 14 hours estimating jobs, because when the construction company does a commercial job or any large project, they have to tie in the vendors, the plumbers, the electricians, the masons, so on and so on. So not only do they have to tie them in, but they have to schedule everything. They have to determine the cost. How are we going to budget this? Order the equipment. What is the pricing? There's a lot involved with that. So it can be a lot of work. So with this simple instructions here, which is not a lot, is pretty much just they type in the project scope in there. Okay, they put the client information in there, the square footage at the bottom, what the region is, because the pricing does go based, the changes per region. They're able to generate this report. So for this is the electrical work, right? It's going to cost $174,000. It's going to do the duration of the project. It's going to have everything from line items so that they can see all the numbers in there. It's going to look at the labor. Where's all the labor costs going? What am I paying for these labor costs on these vendors? So it just gives them a broad view of everything. And this is something that they do in Excel. And just to give you an idea why this was such a big win for us, they had these books. I don't remember what the names were, but the pricing was in these books they get like every month or something like that. So can you imagine looking at these prices on the books and stuff? And then Excel spreadsheets with the rates of their different vendors and stuff like that. We just tie that all in here and it just makes it so much easier. So this was a big time saver for them. One of the things that they love, so it did use the AI to do a market analysis, right? What the conditions and the trends in terms of material costs is in there, as well as the risks. Where are the risks? There they are. So like if there's any risks in terms of the project scopes that they're not looking at, so like the lead times in the elevator and escalator, it's saying there that it should be expanded. It was too short. That's included in there as well. I'm going to do this one real quick. So this is also one we do a lot for clients. So this is an AI board, okay? So I do have a prompt here. So basically what we have clients use this. A lot of solopreneurs, a lot of CEOs, a lot of companies, have maybe 1-2 people in upper management and they don't always have all the skill sets that they would need to scale or to grow. And I'm not trying to replace those skill sets or nothing like that, but basically the way this came about is they said, I need a sounding board. I need somebody that is similar to me in my role, but has different skill sets that can help me, not to, again, replace like an accountant or replace a financial expert or a controller or operations guy or anything like that, or, a female or whatever, but more so I can kind of bounce my ideas off so I don't have to, account for any of this. So this is a AI board with the different skill sets to be able to do stuff like this. So I'm gonna just throw a prompt in here, right? And so this is a founder of a regional bookkeeping and accounting firm, served 80 small businesses. A lot. It has the financials there. I'm 51. I've been running this firm for 14 years. I'm tired, but I'm not done, and I'm not sure if I'm tempted because blah, blah, blah. I actually didn't read this yet. So it's asking for a strategic pulse. So I'm using Opus right now. I'm going to switch this to Sonnet. And I'm going to go ahead and run this just so you kind of see what it does. So if I had more time, or if you're ever interested in Claude, one of the best things about Claude is the skills it has. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the skills of Claude, but some of the automation that you can do with skills and projects in Claude is pretty amazing. So right now it's based off that prompt that I put, and I would do the prompt a little bit different, but honestly I just took a use case and I had it generate one for me, just so that I can paste one in. And this is Claude, by the way. So if anybody's interested in the difference between ChatGPT and Anthropic. So every one of these personas in this AI board have different things, right? So this is Steve Vision. All right, so a little story behind this. This is recorded, right? Okay, so this is a famous CEO from Apple. Okay, this is pretty much his profile, but I can't name it that CEO's name because then I can be liable for that. So this is Steve Vision, but it's based off that famous CEO. So he's giving you the insights there on that. Giving you what he thinks. This is his confidence score in terms of, what he's thinks your options are and stuff. This is also another persona that's famous, again, finance.
Is that confidence in their own response or confidence in
your direction? Yeah. In the question you're asking. So the nice thing about these is all these personas have different skill sets, different expertise, different areas that they're looking at, right? So for instance, finance is looking strictly at finance. The vision is looking at the vision, the brand, what's going on with, the business and stuff. This one, future CEO, when we build this, we build a future version of yourself for a CEO. And this is why. Because one of the things we're finding is that a lot of owners, CEOs, or principals, they tend to have a big problem with accountability. And they have a lot of goals and they want to do a lot of different stuff, but they can hold everybody else accountable. They can't hold themselves accountable. So we build a future version of themselves that helps them with that and keeps them on track on goals. And I know it sounds weird, build a future it's not a future version of themselves, it's a future persona that makes sure whatever their goals are from 10 years from now, it keeps that front and center and keeps that, everything, based off that.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding what's going on here. You created people in there to answer the question, so there's multiple individuals, if you will, that have a skill set. Is that why you're getting multiple answers?
Yes, but I don't want to call it people. Let's just call it personas. It is instructions.
Okay.
It's instructions with very specific skills, very specific areas of expertise, very specific constraints as to what they're looking for. So, how I told you, don't give a ton of instructions at once and stuff? Instead of doing it that way, I'm calling multiple agents with multiple sessions to pull that information at once.
So you're saying, okay, I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So you have your one prompt,
Mm-hmm.
and then you created these people or agents, and agent one is, I am a CEO and I have this much background, so I want to answer the question from that point. And then the next one could be, I'm a financial advisor and I'm answering the question from that point.
Yes.
And then you get this huge thing with all the different responses.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can you can prompt the personas directly if you want to. So if you want to have a session with just the finance, you can do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So it's like creating a board of advisors.
That's what it is. It's a board of directors. That's literally what it is. It's an AI board of directors. And it has everything from these visuals, right? These which is important because, I personally get tired of reading text all the time. So I liked, some visual aspects. So take, for instance, Gen Experience, which is focused on the customer experience, focused on, making sure customers come back. completely disagreed with this. This is the difference between ChatGPT and Claude. It will do this. It will disagree with you. It will tell you when you're wrong. Now, right, but this is on her viewpoint. This is on what we programmed in for that particular persona. It's not necessarily the entire board's, viewpoint. And then just a little bit more on the vote summary and stuff. And just like any real board, it voted 1 red, 6 yellow. So it's a mixed review. This is the synthesis from the future CEO since we made that front and center. And then just the final summary at the end. So this is actually one of our biggest, projects, one of the most common project we do. And it's just crazy because most business owners, directors, management, they're overwhelmed, right? There's just so much going on. So this is extremely useful for a lot of them. It took a while to build. I'll show you what these personas look like. So there's everything from these different personas you see here. Each one of these is a separate file, separate persona. And anywhere from the operating manual to the system instructions, how it's supposed to run. And like I told you, this is why I ramble so much. These are my instructions for the actual project space as to how this board works. And it's pretty detailed. And this is markdown language. That's why you're seeing a lot of this stuff here. I'll show you. This is the instructions for just one of those personas.
Wow.
So it's again, it requires a bit of work. It requires a lot of research. Every time we build this, I actually have whoever I'm building this for, and we have a company where we did 2 of these for them. One is for the owner CEO, the other one's for the vice president of operations. We interview them. We ask them questions because I can't build this without actually getting context and knowledge as to what is needed. So yeah, just some different ways to use AI and stuff like that. But let me ask you this real quickly. Based off this, how nice was this considering this was Sonnet? And this is what I'm saying, like knowing when to use a model was extremely important as well. This wasn't the most powerful model. This was Sonnet. One thing I will mention also, so you, because I forgot to mention this, is models and the actual platform are 2 different things, okay? So think of the models like that's what queries the LLMs, that's what pulls all that data out, and then the platform is the harness. It's what you interact with, okay? So the reason I tell you that is because a lot of the technology that's coming out right now is enhancing the platform, okay? So models don't change as often. Models change, man, Claude has been pretty fast with this, but like on average, once every 6 months, though they're probably twice this year already. So, all right, I'm gonna open it up for questions because I can talk forever.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions, but you talked about verifying information and not just taking it at face value. So, like I use Perplexity to get statistics.
Oh, I love Perplexity, yeah.
And stuff like that. Do I have to verify that information on Perplexity? I mean, where would you verify information?
That's a great question. I don't. So this is how I prompt Perplexity. So Perplexity is a model that a platform that not a lot of people know about. It's the best for research. Okay. Like if you want to do like extensive research, Perplexity is definitely your tool. They have a lot more than that, but that's what it's known for. Financial advisors and investors are using Perplexity like you've never, like the stuff they're doing blows my mind. Like forecasting, investing right now, all of it's tied into Perplexity. And it's open to the public. It's like $20 a month. It's not super expensive. But going back to what you said, I tell Perplexity, do not give me any information unless you can verify it.
That's good.
Because if it's less of a habit of hallucinating or give you wrong information, but sometimes they'll pull information that's outdated. Mm-hmm. So I tell it to verify. Another prompt I said, give me current information If I'm researching something on a vendor, look at the vendor's knowledge base and verify that this information is accurate as of this date.
It does give you at the bottom usually
The
the
sources.
articles that it's pulling
Yep.
from, so I guess you can look at those just. to
Yes.
see. Okay.
Yeah. And the nice thing, and it still blows my mind that Perplexity can look at YouTube and read YouTube and stuff
That
like
is so
that.
cool.
It is so
I love
cool.
Perplexity.
Yeah.
Is that the only one that can do that?
No, it's the best at it.
Okay.
It's the best at it. So what they don't tell you is Perplexity is tied into Amazon Web Services, and Amazon has a ton of resources, and Perplexity uses all that.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
OpenAI has their own. They don't tie into AWS. Anthropic just made an agreement with AWS, but they also have their own. So that's the reason Perplexity does so well, because it's using all of the backend stuff of
Right.
AWS.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
An issue that I run into sometimes, and I use Claude, I had used ChatGPT, but I even use the paid version of Claude, and I find that I'm constantly having to repeat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even asked, I've said, can you remember this for next time, or like moving forward? Or like I changed my settings that like it should remember this stuff. And I'll say, I need a flyer for this group and I need it to say this for my work. And it'll be like, okay, when you're ready, tell me where you work. And I'm like, oh my God, I keep telling you this. And
Yes.
so like, I'm just not sure what I'm doing wrong with that.
Yeah. So a couple of tips here. For one, are you using project spaces?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Use project spaces. So this is why we build that AI board in a project space. And so this is what the project space does, right? When you're doing tasks that you normally do often, and I'm gonna, this is my Claude version, so like I'll show you, like this is all the different projects I have. I use it pretty heavy. So when you use projects, you add your instructions there, and it's like a 10,000 character limit there, so you don't have to repeat yourself. Okay? You add knowledge base files in there so that it always remembers what you're trying to do. So like, the best way to do this, the best way to get the most out of AI for stuff like that, give it an example of what's good. So something that was really good for you, throw it in there as a knowledge base file, and in your instructions, reference this. This is how I want my future flyers to look like. And then when you prompt it, it'll remember it, because when you're in project spaces, it always queries everything that's in your knowledge base for that project. And the other thing you can use is skills as well. Have you ever built skills in Claude?
I don't think so.
Okay, so just ask it. Tell it, I want to build a skill, the perfect way to do this. If you have one of those sessions that's long, that you've been working through it, right? Especially if it made mistakes, go to the end and tell it, I want to automate this in the future, build a skill for me that will accomplish this without me having to repeat myself every single time. And watch what it does. And make sure you ask it, how do I get this skill implemented into my Claude platform?
And skills function just like kind of like commands with memory attached?
Yeah, it's like you literally get like a sub routine in Claude that's programmed for exactly what you want to do. That's why skills are so powerful. So yeah, skills, that's one of the things, some of the other platforms are starting to do skills, but that Anthropic invented that. So they're really powerful. You can go on YouTube and just look up Claude skills, and you'll probably find hundreds of videos on them.
Okay,
So
thank you.
no problem. Any other questions? No? Did I confuse anyone? No, good.
I guess, given that AI is entirely user dependent in terms of output, what are some principles that we can apply to actively get better at prompting?
Oh, that's a great question. Kind of very similar to what I said to her towards the end of your session. Just ask it. So based off this conversation, how can I do this and prompt better so we can get to the results faster in the future?
Right.
And I guarantee you it's going to give you a markdown.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that's the nice thing about AI, right? As you use it, it learns, but you learn as well, especially if you ask questions like that. That's one limitation a lot of people have. Like they prompt AI, but they don't ask the questions. you should ask the questions. You're leveraging those hundreds of millions of books and all that memory and all that processing power, so you should definitely ask the questions.
Okay.
So, any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you for your time. I hope this helped somehow. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for sharing everything. Hopefully you all got something out of it. We will have another one of these in June. It'll be virtual, as I mentioned. So that one will be kind of from the AI side, but we're going to be talking about how search and AI overviews and all that from the marketing perspective, how that's really changed everything, especially in the last few months. I mean, it's been a big pivot. So we're going to kind of dive into that and how you can be found more readily online for AI, whether it's Perplexity, ChatGPT, or the AI overviews for Google. So that'll be our topic for next month. So thank you all again for coming out. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you again, Giuseppe. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Tom. Thank you for having me. Thank you.